Good day and good night. Welcome back to the High and Low Retrospective, the place where we rewind the reels and look back at the shows that knew more than they let on. Some cartoons, some animated series, they look strange because they're trying to be funny. Others look strange because the world they're showing us is broken. In 2001, the Oblongs introduced viewers to a family living at the bottom of society, literally. They lived in a polluted valley beneath the wealthy people in the hills. Their bodies had been changed by toxic waste. Their lives were shaped by neglect, class division, and a world that had learned to look away. At first, it seemed like a grotesque little animated comedy, but looking back now, the Oblongs feels like something sharper, a show about people trying to live normal lives inside conditions they never created. This one's about the Oblongs, and how a short-lived cartoon about a mutated family may have understood something uncomfortable about class, conformity, and survival. Let's get into it. When the Oblongs premiered in 2001, America was standing between two moods. The confidence of the 90s was still hanging around, the future still had that shiny, inevitable feeling, suburban life was still being sold as the reward for making it, better homes, cleaner neighborhoods, more distance from everyone else's problems. But underneath that optimism, the cracks were already showing. The dot-com bubble had burst, economic anxiety was creeping back in, and after September 11th, America's sense of safety changed almost overnight. Television was shifting too. The Simpsons was already an institution. South Park had proven animation could be crude, political, and immediate. Family Guy had arrived in 1999 and was still trying to find its footing. Daria was nearing the end of its run, carrying that dry, disillusioned voice of the late 90s into the new decade. And Adult Swim was just beginning to build a home for stranger, darker animation. The WB had already tested this space 2 years earlier with Mission Hill.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Another animated series built for an older audience. It produced 13 episodes, struggled to fit the network's identity, and later found more of its audience through Adult Swim. That detail matters because The Oblongs was not some random programming accident. It was part of a brief window when networks could see adult animation becoming valuable, even if they hadn't fully figured out what kind of adult animation they wanted. Mission Hill was easier to place. It had apartments, music, young adulthood, and that late 90s slacker texture. The Oblongs arrived with poisoned air, class resentment, and a family whose bodies carried the cost of the world around them. They came right in the middle of that transition, too grotesque for traditional network TV, too bleak to feel like simple comedy, maybe too early for the audience that would have known what to do with it. Because beneath the missing limbs, toxic air, and crooked character designs, the Oblongs had a simple idea. Some people get to live above the damage. Others are expected to survive inside it.
Maybe you valley people wouldn't have so many health problems if you didn't live where the air is contaminated and the land be foul.
Oops, that's Mommy's juice.
The Oblongs followed a working-class family living in a toxic valley below a wealthy community known as the Hills. The father, Bob Oblong, is cheerful, devoted, and born without arms or legs.
Hey, where'd your limbs go? You look like a baby sea cow.
He works at a poison factory called Globicide, a name so direct it almost stops being satire.
Is it me, or does the poison taste different today?
His wife Pickles used to live in the hills before marrying Bob. Now she lives in the valley, chain smoking, drinking, wearing a tall blonde wig, and trying to hold the family together with whatever energy she has left. Their son Milo is anxious, hyperactive, and always trying to find his place in a world that treats him like a problem before he even opens his mouth.
You may control my mind, but you'll never control my ass.
Let's take your temperature, kid. Say ah.
Beth has a growth on her head. Biff and Chip are conjoined twins. And the rest of the neighborhood is filled with children and adults whose bodies have been shaped by the environment around them. On the surface, the show wanted you to notice the deformity first. Then the setting started doing something more uncomfortable. The Oblongs are not random monsters. They're not monsters at all. They're people living with the physical consequences of someone else's comfort. The valley is where the pollution goes. The hills are where the wealthy go to avoid seeing it. That geography tells you almost everything. Before anyone explains the politics, before anyone names the system, before the show even settles into a story, you understand the world visually. The rich live above, the poor live below. The people below carry the damage in their bodies, and the people above carry on as if none of it has anything to do with them.
The WB Sunday continues with the new hit comedy critics rave is clever, outrageous, and extra edgy.
The Oblongs was created by Angus Oblong and Jace Richdale and was loosely based on Angus Oblong's book Creepy Susie and 13 Other Tragic Tales for Troubled Children. I know, long title.
I wanted to write tales that were like Dick and Jane. See Dick run, see Jane fall, see Jane bleed, see Dick cry. When I wrote the tales in the Creepy Susie book, that's pretty much what they are. They're just deformed, miserable Dick and Jane characters.
That origin matters because the show never looked like something designed by committee. It had the feeling of underground comics, warped faces, uneven bodies, sad children, adults who looked tired before they even spoke. The animation was crude in a deliberate way. The characters looked bent by the world around them. Even when the jokes were broad, the design kept pulling the viewer back to discomfort. And then there was the cast. In hindsight, the voice cast feels almost unreal. Will Ferrell voiced Bob Oblong before his movie career fully exploded. Gene Smart voiced Pickles.
Let's make some of that hot, nasty donkey love.
Pamela Adlon voiced Milo.
I don't want to miss the cantor. He sings like a dream. Who the hell is Robbie?
Jason and Randy Sklar voiced Biff and Chip. Jeannie Elias voiced Beth and Creepy Susie.
I like to think she's from Paris, but you don't know.
Drowning is my third favorite way to die.
Billy West and Mark Hamill appearing around the edges of the show's voice world. It's one of those casts that makes the show feel like a cultural object caught between eras. The old network system still had enough power to put something this strange on TV, but the new adult animation world had not fully made room for shows this warped. So the Oblongs arrived, made an uncomfortable impression, and disappeared almost as quickly as it came. The most powerful thing about the Oblongs is how little it needs to explain its class politics. The hills and the valley do the work. The wealthy people live above the smoke and waste, protected by distance. The valley residents live below, closer to the factories, closer to the runoff, closer to whatever's been dumped, ignored, or outsourced. It's class separation as geography, and that idea has shown up across culture for a long time. Great social satire often understands that space reveals power. Years later, a film like Parasite would use elevation, architecture, and weather to show how inequality lives in physical space. The Oblongs reach for something similar through grotesque animation. For the people in the hills, the valley is someone else's problem. For the Oblongs, it's home. That's where the show becomes more unsettling than it first appears, because the family's not sitting around naming the injustice every episode. They're making dinner, going to school, they're going to work, raising kids, taking care of each other, trying to have a normal day in a place that should never have become normal. Bob Oblong may be one of the strangest animated fathers of his era. He has no arms, no legs. He works in a poisonous factory. He lives in a community discarded by the people above it. And yet, Bob is almost aggressively optimistic.
It's not a school for psychos. It's a school for the pathologically high-spirited.
He loves his wife. He loves his children. He wants to provide. He wants the family to be okay. At first, that optimism can look absurd. Then it starts to feel painful, because Bob's cheerfulness doesn't come from life treating him gently. It feels more like a survival skill, a way of keeping the room from collapsing, a way of telling his children and maybe himself that the family can still function.
And Bob, if I don't make it, I want you to be buried alive with me.
Yes, dear.
Pickles carries attention differently. She came from the hills, so she knows exactly what life looks like above the valley. She knows the codes, the manners, the cruelty, the way wealth disguises itself as taste. By the time we meet her, she's lost that access. Her body and life have been changed by the valley, but she hasn't lost her awareness. That makes Pickles one of the show's most interesting characters. She remembers what comfort looked like, and she understands the cost of being pushed out of it. Milo gives the show its clearest emotional doorway. He's a child trying to survive institutions that were not built for him. School doesn't know what to do with him.
Except for you, Milo, since the school board has rated you a Class 4 maniac.
Other kids see him as strange. Adults often treat him like a disruption. And still, Milo wants what most children want. Friends. Acceptance. Some sense that the world might make room for him. That's where The Oblongs becomes more than a grotesque comedy. It's a family show viewed through a funhouse mirror. The bodies are pushed to extremes. Feelings underneath them feel painfully ordinary.
Look, a novelty license plate that says Debbie.
Now, one of the sharpest pieces of satire in The Oblongs comes through the Debbies. The Debbies are wealthy girls from the hills who look alike, they sound alike, they dress alike. They move through the world like one single social organism. Same clothes, same voices, same interests, same posture toward everyone beneath them.
That Debbie says she doesn't like Debbie as much as Debbie. No way!
At the time, it played like a joke about popular girls, a heightened version of school hierarchy. The Valley kids were weird, the Debbies were perfect. That contrast was easy to understand, but looking back now, the Debbies feel more interesting. They represent a different kind of damage. The Valley residents are physically altered by their environment. The Hills residents are socially altered by theirs. The Debbies haven't been poisoned by toxic waste, but they have been shaped by conformity. Their identity is built out of repetition. Their belonging depends on sameness. That feels especially strange now. We live in a culture where beauty standards travel faster than ever, where people copy the same poses, the same faces, the same brands, the same language, and the same idea of desirability. The pressure to look like everyone else can disguise itself as self-expression. The Debbies were a cartoon exaggeration. Now they feel like an early sketch of something that became much more visible later. And this is where The Oblongs gets clever. The show doesn't let the Hills off the hook just because the people there look clean, healthy, and untouched by pollution. Their world is damaged too. It just shows up differently. In the Valley, damage shows up on the body. In the Hills, it hides inside manners, taste, beauty, and belonging.
Poor dog acts like he's never seen a woman before.
Our phones are ringing off the hook! So you know what? We're showing it again! Hey, somebody grab that! The world premiere of The Oblongs again, right now on the WB!
The Oblongs premiered on the WB on April 1st, 2001. That detail almost feels like part of the joke. April Fool's Day. A network known for teen dramas, family programming, and glossy youth culture suddenly had a cartoon about a poisoned working-class family living beneath indifferent elites. The show produced 13 episodes. The WB aired only part of the season before cancellation, with the remaining episodes later shown on Adult Swim. That move makes sense in hindsight.
It's all kids out of the pool for Adult Swim.
Adult Swim was stranger, looser, and more comfortable with shows that felt like they were airing after midnight inside someone's bad dream. But even there, The Oblongs remain more cult object than adult animation landmark. Part of that may be because the show was hard to love casually. The Simpsons gave viewers satire through a familiar family sitcom shape. Family Guy moved quickly with cutaways, pop culture, and shock jokes. South Park had the advantage of immediacy. It could feel like it was responding to the world in real time. The Oblongs was harder to place. It was ugly on purpose, bleak by design, and its satire didn't always soften the blow. Even when the jokes were silly, the world of the show had a heaviness to it. You were laughing in a place that looked abandoned by care. That can be powerful. It can also make a show difficult to sell.
Hey, isn't that my...
The strange thing about The Oblongs is that its world may become easier to understand with time. People didn't need to become mutated cartoon characters for the show to start making sense. What became familiar was the emotional logic. People still lived near pollution they didn't create. Communities still carry the health consequences of decisions made far away from them. Class still shapes who gets clean air, good schools, safe housing, healthy food, reliable healthcare, and the ability to escape. And many people still learn to normalize conditions that should have caused outrage. That may be the show's most uncomfortable insight. Broken systems rarely feel broken every second you live inside them. At some point, they become routine. You wake up, you go to work, you make lunch, you get the kids ready, you pay what you can. You laugh because the alternative is too heavy. You build a life inside the thing that is harming you. That's where the Oblongs becomes more haunting than its reputation suggests. It understood survival as a daily performance. The Oblongs aren't sitting around waiting for rescue. They're trying to get through Tuesday. And that may be why the show feels sharper now than it did in 2001. Because modern life has made a lot of people fluent in that feeling.
Please call again. A hologram, eh?
So that's the High and Low retrospective on the Oblongs, a short-lived cartoon about a family in a poisoned valley, a strange little show with a cast that looks even more impressive in hindsight, and a satire that used crooked bodies, toxic air, and suburban cruelty to say something uncomfortable about survival. Maybe that's why the Oblong still lingers, because the joke was supposed to be how strange the family looked, but the longer you sit with it, the stranger part is how normal their world starts to feel. Anyway, thanks for watching this one. Thanks for liking, commenting, sharing this video, and subscribing. Be sure to click the bell so you don't miss more deep dives into the shows, the movies, the moments that shaped us, and the ones that understood us a little too well. Until next time, stay critical, stay nostalgic, and remember.
What about your attention deficit disorder? Milo!